good morning, good afternoon, or good evening wherever you are. Let me ask you something. How often do you really look at the world, at people, and at yourself with intention? The eyes are not just windows to the soul. They are signals of your vision, your purpose, and your destiny. The eyes have it. The power to see, to perceive, and to act is literally at your fingertips, or should I say in your gaze. Today, I want you to understand that what you see is what you attract, and what you focus on determines what you become. Think about this for a moment. Every great leader, every successful person, every change maker in history had a vision. But not just any vision. They saw beyond the ordinary. They looked with purpose. They looked with understanding. They looked with clarity. And that clarity came through their eyes. Your eyes are the first tools of leadership, influence, and success. The moment you begin to see things clearly, your life begins to change. Have you ever noticed how the eyes speak before words are even formed? It is fascinating when you watch a mother look at a child for the first time, the way her eyes fill with warmth, love, and a silent promise that she will protect, nurture, and guide. No words are spoken, yet everything necessary is communicated. The child feels it immediately, senses it deeply, and understands more than words could ever convey. That is the power of the eyes. The incredible ability they have to transmit emotions, intentions, and truths long before the tongue has a chance to utter a single sound. Imagine walking into a room and immediately feeling the tension or the warmth of the people there, all without hearing a single word. It is because the eyes are the first channels through which we connect, judge, and understand the world. Consider a moment in daily life when a friend or colleague enters a room and catches your gaze. Before any conversation happens, your eyes communicate a message. Maybe it is curiosity, maybe it is recognition, or perhaps it is judgment. The subtle flicker, the brief widening, the slight narrowing of the eyes, each motion carries a story. A leader in a meeting can often communicate approval or disapproval through a single glance. A simple raise of the eyebrow can spark motivation, incite urgency, or demand accountability. You do not need to shout or write lengthy memos because your eyes have already spoken louder than any words could. It is an incredible reminder that influence begins with perception, that the smallest gesture of your gaze can ripple into massive effects. Think about your own life. How many times have you been encouraged by the eyes of another before a word of comfort was spoken? Perhaps a teacher noticed your effort even when others ignored you, and in a brief glance they made you feel seen, acknowledged, and valued. That look may have been brief, but it carried a message that resonated deep inside you, a message that whispered, "I see your potential, I notice your effort, you matter." It is a silent yet powerful form of affirmation, one that can ignite confidence and push a person to achieve what they thought was impossible. The eyes communicate before words, and in that silence, the mind begins to believe, the spirit begins to rise, and the heart begins to act. On the flip side, the eyes can also reveal doubt, insecurity, or lack of confidence. Have you ever walked into a room where someone's gaze immediately made you feel small, unworthy, or invisible? Perhaps it was a manager, a peer, or even a stranger, but their eyes carried judgment, skepticism, or indifference. Without saying anything, they communicated a message that affected how you felt, how you moved, and even how you performed. This is why mastering the power of your eyes is so crucial. If your eyes can inspire, they can also discourage. If your eyes can motivate, they can also intimidate. Learning to control the language of your gaze is one of the most overlooked forms of communication in daily life, yet it is one of the most potent. Consider the eyes of someone in love. Often, lovers do not need words to express deep emotions. A look across a crowded room can convey longing, admiration, and unspoken connection. The eyes transmit feelings that are more authentic than rehearsed words, more honest than any promise made aloud. Similarly, in sports, in business, in family life, the eyes often signal determination, resolve, or commitment. A coach can instill belief in a player simply through focused, encouraging eye contact. A parent can reassure a child with a look that says, "I trust you, go forward and succeed." A mentor can convey confidence and expectation with a gaze that silently tells you that you are capable of greatness. When you understand the language of the eyes, you begin to realize that every interaction is an opportunity to communicate, to influence, and to inspire without saying a word. Your eyes become tools of leadership, instruments of motivation, and channels of truth. The moment you learn to align your inner intention with the way you look at the world, you will notice a shift. People respond not just to what you say, but to what you show through your eyes. They feel your energy, your belief, your vision, and your integrity in that silent exchange. The eyes are always watching, always speaking, and always connecting. The truth is that your eyes can uplift, they can empower, they can heal, and they can ignite dreams simply by what they convey, long before any word is uttered. Have you ever stopped to notice what your eyes are drawn to throughout the day? Where your gaze lingers is where your mind invests its energy, and where your mind invests its energy is where your life is headed. The eyes reflect your focus, and they reveal the battles you are choosing to fight, the dreams you are chasing, and the opportunities you are willing to embrace. If you constantly look at problems, fears, or obstacles, your eyes signal to your mind that these are the things that matter most. Your life becomes a reflection of the things you habitually stare at. On the other hand, if your eyes are fixed on possibilities, on solutions, and on opportunities, your mind begins to align with hope, growth, and achievement. Think about a student in a classroom. When they focus on the teacher, on the lesson, and on the examples being shown, their eyes follow the path of learning, their mind engages, their understanding grows, and their ability to apply knowledge expands. But when the eyes wander, distracted by their phone, the window, or a passing thought, their focus disperses, their mind drifts, and the opportunity to learn diminishes. The eyes in this moment are not just a passive organ, they are a reflection of intent, a mirror of attention. Wherever your eyes rest, your energy follows. And wherever your energy goes, your results begin to take shape. Consider an entrepreneur walking through a marketplace, searching for ideas. If their eyes are only drawn to what already exists, to the products that everyone else is selling, they see competition, not innovation. But if their eyes are trained to notice gaps, unmet needs, and unique possibilities, their focus generates ideas, solutions, and opportunities that others overlook. The same marketplace, the same environment yields entirely different outcomes based on where the eyes focus. Your vision is shaped not just by what you imagine, but by what your eyes are willing to seek out and linger on. In relationships, the eyes also reflect focus. Have you ever noticed how couples who thrive together constantly look at each other with attention, appreciation, and curiosity? Their eyes convey care and intentionality. They notice the small gestures, the subtle changes in mood, and the unspoken needs of the other person. Eyes that focus on criticism, on flaws, or on past mistakes create distance, tension, and misunderstanding. It is a daily reminder that your eyes are not merely seeing. They are deciding what is worthy of attention, what is meaningful, and what will shape your reality. Look at athletes. The way a basketball player locks onto the hoop, a sprinter fixes their eyes on the finish line, or a tennis player tracks the ball with unwavering focus. Their eyes reflect their purpose. They are not distracted by the crowd, the noise, or the distractions around them. Their gaze is intentional, and that focus dictates their precision, their timing, and ultimately their success. The eyes translate intention into action, and action into results. Wherever your eyes focus, your energy, your skill, and your perseverance are directed. Even in everyday work life, your eyes show what you value. An employee who focuses on complaints, inefficiency, and setbacks will find their energy depleted, their motivation low, and their results stagnating. Yet the employee who looks for solutions, who sees potential in challenges, and who observes opportunities for growth will find that the same environment becomes a training ground for success. Your eyes are constantly transmitting signals to your brain about what matters most, and your brain responds by directing your actions, choices, and energy in alignment with that focus. It is the same with personal goals and dreams. If your eyes are glued to what others have, what they achieved, or what seems impossible, you are constantly reminded of lack, limitation, and doubt. But if your eyes are focused on the steps you can take, the skills you can develop, and the opportunities you can seize, your mind becomes energized, your confidence grows, and your life begins to shift. The eyes are not passive observers, they are active participants in shaping destiny. Every day, we make choices about where to look, what to notice, and what to prioritize. Even the smallest glance can determine the outcome of an entire day, a project, or a relationship. Your eyes reflect your focus, and your focus reflects your intentions. If you are serious about growth, achievement, and fulfillment, you must train your eyes to seek what empowers, what inspires, and what aligns with your purpose. Your destiny is influenced not just by what you think or say, but by what your eyes allow you to see, to linger on, and to invest your energy in have you ever looked into someone's eyes and instantly known whether you could trust them or not. There is something in the way a person's eyes reflect honesty, courage, and integrity that no words can ever fully capture. The eyes reveal character in ways that action sometimes cannot, because the eyes are raw, unfiltered, and honest. Think about the cashier at a store who meets every customer with a warm gaze. The friend who looks at you in a moment of crisis and holds your pain in their eyes. The teacher whose eyes carry both discipline and care. Without saying a single word, these people communicate volumes about who they are, what they value, and the principles they live by. Consider a child watching their parents every day. Children are like mirrors. They study not just what you say, but what your eyes convey. When a parent looks at a child with attention, patience, and understanding, the child feels security, love, and encouragement. When a parent looks with frustration, impatience, or neglect, the child senses fear, doubt, and insecurity. The eyes, in these daily interactions, quietly shape the child's perception of character, teaching them what honesty, integrity, and empathy look like in real life. Think about your workplace. Leaders who inspire do not rely solely on speeches or written policies. Their eyes communicate their values in every meeting, every interaction, and every decision. A manager who looks at a struggling employee with genuine concern is teaching a lesson about compassion and accountability simultaneously. The employee may not remember the exact words, but they remember the sincerity in the gaze, and that becomes a standard for trust and respect. On the other hand, leaders who avoid eye contact, who look away when confronted with mistakes, reveal a lack of courage, responsibility, and authenticity. The eyes tell more than words ever can, because they reflect what lies deep within a person's character. Even in friendships, the eyes reveal truths that words often disguise. You can hear 1,000 promises, but the eyes will show whether the promise is real. A friend who meets your gaze with understanding, who listens with attentiveness, and who responds with honesty, shows that their character aligns with their words. The eyes carry the weight of sincerity, and when someone cannot meet your gaze, it often signals a misalignment between what they say and who they truly are. Look at athletes or performers. The eyes of someone preparing to compete reveal discipline, focus, and resilience. A runner at the starting line, the way they hold their gaze forward, signals more than ambition. It shows mental toughness and commitment. A musician, moments before stepping on stage, whose eyes reflect calm determination, reveals a character that has been forged through countless hours of practice, patience, and persistence. Character is not built in ease. It is revealed in moments of pressure, and the eyes are the mirrors that display what is hidden inside. Even in daily interactions with strangers, the eyes reveal character. A person who returns a lost wallet, not because they want recognition, but because their gaze holds a quiet confidence in doing what is right, teaches more about integrity than any law or rule could. Someone who meets your gaze with arrogance, contempt, or deception exposes the traits they cannot hide, no matter how carefully they try to present themselves otherwise. The eyes are honest, relentless, and always watching. Look at couples in healthy relationships. Partners whose eyes meet with patience, understanding, and empathy show the depth of their character. The way they respond to stress, disappointment, or joy in each other's eyes reflects the integrity of their bond. It is not just words or actions, but the consistent expression in their gaze that demonstrates commitment, loyalty, and love. When we learn to see beyond the surface, to read the language of the eyes, we gain insight into the values, principles, and character of those around us, and in turn, we are challenged to cultivate the same depth in our own gaze. The eyes do not lie. In moments of honesty, fear, joy, or sorrow, they expose the inner workings of the heart. They reveal patience in the midst of chaos, courage in the face of fear, and integrity when no one is watching. Every glance, every gaze, every look carries a silent but powerful message about who we are, what we stand for, and how others can trust us. Have you ever noticed that the quality of your relationships is often reflected in the way you see others and the way they see you? The eyes set the standard for your relationships because they communicate attention, care, respect, and understanding in ways that words alone cannot achieve. When you look at someone with genuine interest, curiosity, and empathy, you signal that they matter, that their presence is valued, and that their feelings are important. The moment your gaze becomes distracted, disinterested, or judgmental, it communicates a different standard, one of distance, detachment, and disregard. In daily life, this happens constantly, And yet most people never stop to recognize how much power their eyes have in shaping the depth and quality of every connection they make. Think about a parent and child. A child does not just hear what their parent says. They watch them, they observe the way their eyes engage with them. When a parent kneels down, looks into their child's eyes, and listens fully, the child feels a sense of value and trust. The parent sets a standard of connection through the gaze, teaching the child how to be seen and how to see others, even in small moments, like sharing a meal, helping with homework, or comforting after a fall. The eyes are the measuring stick for attention and care. Children remember these interactions long after the words fade because the eyes silently communicate what the heart feels. Consider friendships. The people you choose to invest in and the ones you allow into your inner circle are often influenced by how your eyes engage with them. A friend who meets your eyes with sincerity, attentiveness, and respect raises the standard for how you expect to be treated. They communicate that honesty, loyalty, and transparency are essential, even without uttering those words. On the other hand, someone whose eyes carry judgment, indifference, or deceit sets a very different standard, teaching you what to avoid and reminding you that relationships thrive only when there is mutual respect and understanding. Even in romantic relationships, the eyes are powerful. Lovers do not rely solely on words to express love. They rely on connection through the gaze. When one partner looks at another with admiration, patience, and understanding, it builds trust and intimacy. The eyes create a standard for emotional availability, for empathy, and for care. When stress or conflict arises, the way partners meet each other's gaze often determines whether the relationship strengthens or falters. A glance that conveys calm, reassurance, and love sets the expectation for communication, compromise, and mutual respect. The eyes silently enforce the boundaries and standards for what is acceptable and what is harmful. Think about colleagues and workplace relationships. A leader who meets team members with focus, encouragement, and acknowledgement communicates a standard of respect, teamwork, and value. Employees feel seen, appreciated, and motivated to give their best. In contrast, a leader who avoids eye contact, shows impatience, or communicates disinterest sets a lower standard, one where employees feel undervalued, disconnected, or even fearful to contribute. The gaze in these moments determines the tone of collaboration, trust, and engagement. Even strangers in daily interactions demonstrate this principle. When someone holds a door open and meets your eyes with a friendly nod, the standard of politeness, civility, and respect is quietly reinforced. When someone ignores you completely, looks away, or displays disdain, it communicates a lower standard, teaching you unconsciously what is acceptable and what is not in social interactions. The eyes are constantly defining boundaries, showing approval or exposing disregard in subtle but powerful ways. Look at families and communities. The standard set by eyes is not just individual, it is generational. Children learn how to interact, communicate, and value others by observing the gaze of those around them. If a family looks at each other with patience, empathy, and care, the standard of connection, kindness, and emotional intelligence is established. If the gaze is critical, distant, or dismissive, the standard is also set, shaping behaviors, expectations, and interactions for years to come. The eyes create the invisible framework for how relationships function. They communicate trust or suspicion, care or neglect, openness or secrecy, attention or distraction. In every conversation, every encounter, and every moment of connection, the eyes are silently teaching, signaling, and setting the bar. The higher the standard your eyes communicate, the healthier, deeper, and more meaningful your relationships become. They define the tone of intimacy, friendship, trust, and respect before a single word is even spoken. Have you ever noticed that opportunities rarely announce themselves with a loud voice? They rarely come dressed in certainty or wrapped in convenience. Often they are subtle, quiet, and waiting for someone who is willing to see them. The eyes are the windows to opportunity, because what you choose to notice, to linger on, and to explore with your gaze determines the doors that open in your life. If you are constantly looking down, distracted by fear, doubt, or what seems impossible, opportunities pass by unnoticed. The person who succeeds is not always the most talented, but the one whose eyes are open to possibilities, whose gaze is curious, and whose focus is intentional. Consider a young person walking through a busy city street, observing the shops, the people, and the energy around them. One person may only see the crowd, the noise, and the obstacles in their path. Another may notice a small shop with a unique product, a gap in the market, or a need that no one is fulfilling. The first person moves along without change. The second sees a chance to create, innovate, and grow. The eyes in these moments are like a filter that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the missed opportunities from the life-changing ones. It is a daily reminder that your destiny is shaped not only by what you know, but by what your eyes are trained to see. Think about a student in a classroom or a library. Many students read the same books, attend the same lectures, and sit in the same seats. Yet the eyes of some students linger on details, patterns, or ideas that others overlook. They notice questions that no one asks, connections that no one makes, and solutions that no one envisions. Their eyes are alert, curious, and searching. This is why they excel, why they innovate, and why they discover paths that others never thought to explore. Opportunity is always present, but it requires eyes that are willing to look deeper, to see beyond the surface, and to engage with what is often invisible to the casual observer. Even in relationships, the eyes can reveal opportunity. When you look at someone with curiosity, empathy, and understanding, you begin to notice qualities, strengths, and potentials that others may miss. A manager who sees hidden talent in an employee, a mentor who notices potential in a young apprentice, or a friend who recognizes a need that no one else attends to is seeing opportunities to make a difference. The eyes act as a radar, detecting what is possible, what can be nurtured, and what can be transformed into something extraordinary. The moment you learn to see people for their possibilities, your life begins to intersect with opportunities that multiply beyond imagination. Look at entrepreneurs or inventors. They succeed not because the world suddenly changed in their favor, but because their eyes were attuned to what others ignored. They see gaps in markets, solutions to problems, and chances to create value where others only see limitations. A small observation, a fleeting glance at a need in everyday life, can spark an idea that becomes a business, a movement, or a legacy. Your eyes are the starting point of insight. Without seeing, you cannot begin to act. Opportunity lies in the details, in the unnoticed, and in the overlooked. Consider a simple daily routine. Walking to work, you notice a street vendor struggling to attract customers. Most people pass by without noticing. Someone else sees the problem and imagines a way to improve it, to create a solution, to provide value. That single glance sparks a thought, a strategy, and a potential opportunity. In life, it is not always the obvious doors that lead to success. It is the doors your eyes discover, the patterns you notice, and the possibilities you dare to envision. Even in adversity, the eyes are the windows to opportunity. A person facing failure, loss, or disappointment can allow their gaze to focus on what is missing, what went wrong, and what is impossible. Another person in the exact same situation looks for what can be learned, what can be corrected, and what can be created from the situation. The difference is not circumstance. It is vision. It is where the eyes choose to rest, what they choose to seek, and the opportunities they refuse to ignore. Opportunity is always present around you. It is in the conversations you have, in the moments you observe, in the challenges you face, and in the needs you notice. Your eyes are the filters that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, the mischance from the life-changing possibility, the invisible from the tangible. Wherever your eyes settle, your life begins to follow, and what you see today shapes the opportunities you can seize tomorrow. Have you ever stopped to realize that the way you look at the world can shape the world you live in? The eyes influence your destiny because they are the first instruments through which your mind engages with life. What you focus on, what you linger on, and what you allow your eyes to rest upon sends a powerful message to your heart and mind about what you believe is possible. If your gaze is filled with doubt, fear, and hesitation, your destiny will be shaped by limitation. If your gaze is focused on vision, opportunity, and possibility, your life will unfold in alignment with greatness. The eyes are not passive observers. They are active participants in the creation of your future. Consider a student preparing for an important exam. If their eyes are fixed on distractions, the phone, the noise, the other students' progress, they are feeding doubt into their mind. They become aware of what they cannot do rather than what they can accomplish. But when their eyes are fixed on the textbook, the formulas, the lessons, and the examples, their mind aligns with discipline, focus, and determination. That simple act of directing the gaze shapes the outcome, determining success or failure, not because of luck, but because vision and focus influence destiny. Look at an athlete standing at the starting line. The crowd is loud, the tension is high, and fear could easily creep in. Yet those who succeed have eyes locked on the finish line, on the goal, and on the vision of victory. They are not distracted by obstacles, doubts, or the opinions of others. Their eyes, steady and purposeful, communicate to their mind that they are capable, that the effort will be rewarded, and that success is within reach. Destiny begins with the gaze, because the eyes teach the heart what to believe and the mind what to pursue. Even in daily life, the way people look at challenges influences the paths they take. Imagine two people facing the same problem. One sees only limitations, obstacles, and reasons why it cannot work. Their eyes focusing on fear and impossibility. The other sees opportunity, solutions, and potential for growth, their eyes scanning for ways to turn difficulty into advantage. Both face the same reality, but their destinies diverge because their eyes directed their energy, their thoughts, and their actions. The eyes are not just windows. They are navigators guiding the ship of your life. Think about careers. Many people settle for jobs or paths that feel safe because their eyes are drawn to what is familiar, comfortable, and predictable. They do not see the bigger vision, the untapped potential, or the possibilities that lie just beyond their immediate perception. Others, however, look with curiosity, with foresight, and with courage. They see niches, opportunities, and ideas that can transform their life. The eyes influence destiny because they decide what gets noticed, what gets attention, and what gets acted upon. Destiny begins when the eyes focus on what matters most, even when the world around you seems chaotic or indifferent. Relationships, too, are influenced by the eyes. The way you look at people shapes how they respond to you, how connections develop, and what bonds are formed. A partner who looks with empathy, care, and understanding nurtures a relationship that can withstand challenges and grow stronger over time. A friend whose eyes reflect interest, support, and encouragement becomes a catalyst for personal growth and shared success. The eyes influence not only your individual journey, but the collective trajectory of the people around you. Even in moments of adversity, your eyes can shape your destiny. When faced with failure, disappointment, or loss, you have a choice to stare at the setback, letting it define you, or to lift your gaze to the possibilities that remain. Those who succeed train their eyes to seek lessons, solutions, and new directions. They see beyond the immediate pain to the opportunity for growth, transformation, and achievement. Destiny is rarely determined by what happens to you. It is determined by what your eyes choose to focus on and how your mind responds to what is seen. Every day, your eyes are shaping the course of your life. They decide what you notice, what you pursue, and what you ignore. They influence the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the paths you choose. If you learn to see clearly, to focus intentionally, and to look for the opportunities that others miss, your destiny becomes a product of vision, courage, and persistent attention. Have you ever watched a leader walk into a room and noticed how the atmosphere changes instantly? It is not just what they say or the titles they carry. It is the way their eyes command attention, communicate purpose, and inspire confidence. The eyes empower leadership because they are the first and most honest expression of vision, courage, and influence. Before a single word is spoken, the gaze of a true leader sets the tone, signals direction, and conveys authority. People are drawn to leaders who look at them with clarity, empathy, and determination, and they are repelled by those whose eyes show doubt, fear, or disinterest. Leadership begins in the eyes because the eyes reveal the belief in oneself and the conviction in the path ahead. Consider a manager in a busy office. They could bark orders, fill the room with noise, or rely on reports and emails to assert authority. Yet the most effective managers are those whose eyes communicate attention, focus, and expectation. When they meet an employee's gaze with sincerity, the employee feels valued and motivated. When they look with understanding and encouragement, the employee feels empowered to take initiative. The eyes of a leader transmit standards, priorities, and trust, often more effectively than any written policy. It is in the gaze that leadership grows from authority to influence, from instruction to inspiration. Think about a coach standing on the sidelines during a game. The team may be tired, nervous, or uncertain. A simple glance from the coach, filled with confidence and belief, can ignite determination and courage in the players. Their eyes communicate a silent message. I see your potential, I trust your ability, you can achieve more than you believe. That gaze transforms fear into focus, hesitation into action, and doubt into belief. Leadership is not about controlling others, it is about empowering them through vision, encouragement, and the subtle language of attention that begins in the eyes. Even in everyday life, The eyes define leadership. A parent guiding a child does not always need to lecture or explain. A look of approval, attention, or gentle correction communicates standards, values, and expectation. Children learn to trust, respect, and follow when they see consistency and purpose reflected in the eyes of those leading them. The eyes convey integrity, patience, and courage in ways that words often fail to capture. Leadership at its core is about creating influence through presence, focus, and the silent authority of vision. Consider public figures or speakers who move audiences. The energy in the room shifts not just because of the words spoken, but because of the way they look, how their gaze meets the eyes of each individual. It communicates conviction, sincerity, and belief. People follow leaders who see them, who acknowledge their presence, and who communicate that every individual matters in the larger vision. A leader who cannot meet the eyes of their followers is one who struggles to inspire. The eyes are the bridge between authority and influence, between position and leadership, and between instruction and transformation. Look at entrepreneurs who lead teams through innovation and risk. They must navigate uncertainty, doubt, and skepticism from others. Their eyes, however, reflect unwavering belief, determination, and resilience. When team members see focus and confidence reflected in the gaze of the leader, they align their energy, creativity, and courage to the vision. Leadership is not about micromanaging or controlling. It is about empowering others to act through the clarity and conviction visible in the eyes of those at the helm. Even small acts of leadership begin in the eyes. A teacher who looks at a student struggling with encouragement and patience ignites hope and self-belief. A colleague who acknowledges another's effort with attention and respect empowers contribution and loyalty. A community organizer who meets the gaze of a participant with sincerity creates trust, cohesion, and motivation. The eyes transmit values, purpose, and belief long before any words are spoken, and they have the power to ignite change, influence behavior, and shape culture. The eyes of a leader are never passive. They observe, assess, inspire, and connect. They hold vision, communicate standards, and transfer belief. A leader's gaze has the power to transform fear into courage, doubt into confidence, and potential into achievement. It is through the eyes that leaders silently empower, inspire, and direct others to rise above limitations, to act with purpose, and to embrace the vision set before them. As we come to the close of this moment together, I want you to pause and truly reflect on what has been shared. The eyes have it, they truly do, and they are far more powerful than we often realize. Your eyes are not just tools for seeing the world. They are instruments for shaping it. They determine how you perceive challenges, how you connect with people, how you seize opportunity, and ultimately how you create your destiny. In every glance, every gaze, every look, there is power, influence, and a story waiting to be told. The eyes are the first teachers of life, revealing to you what matters, what is possible, and what your future can hold. Think about the leaders who have changed the course of history. What made them great was not only their knowledge, their skills, or their strategy, but the vision in their eyes. When Martin Luther King Jr. stood before a crowd, his eyes radiated conviction and hope, and millions were inspired to see beyond the present moment into a world of equality and justice. When Nelson Mandela emerged from decades of imprisonment, his gaze reflected patience, strength, and a vision for freedom, and his eyes inspired a nation to believe in reconciliation and transformation. The eyes of greatness communicate more than words ever could. They transmit hope, vision, and unwavering belief. Your eyes, too, can hold that kind of power. The eyes you cast on your life, your relationships, your work, and your dreams are the eyes that determine what you will achieve. If you constantly look at limitations, if you linger on fear, doubt, or disappointment, your destiny will mirror what you focus on. But if you look with clarity, with purpose, and with expectation, your life begins to align with the highest possibilities. The eyes are the silent architects of your future, drawing pathways, lighting directions, and creating bridges to the life you were meant to live. Remember, the eyes reflect your focus. Wherever your eyes go, your energy follows. Wherever your focus lingers, your mind begins to shape your reality. If your eyes are fixed on growth, opportunity, and excellence, your mind becomes fertile ground for innovation, courage, and action. If your eyes dwell on negativity, scarcity, or doubt, your energy will be consumed, your vision clouded, and your potential limited. Choose carefully what you allow your eyes to see, because what you see today determines the results you experience tomorrow. Your eyes reveal character, the truth of who you are, what you value, and how others can trust you is reflected in your gaze. When you meet the eyes of someone with sincerity, empathy, and understanding, you communicate integrity, courage, and honesty. The world may try to deceive, people may try to mislead, but the eyes are honest. They expose your intentions and reveal your principles. Those who understand this power cultivate eyes that uplift, inspire, and encourage, because character is not only seen in action, but in the gaze that precedes it. Your eyes set the standard for relationships. In every interaction, your gaze communicates what you value, who you respect, and how you expect to be treated. Look at people with care, attention, and curiosity, and you will build bonds of trust, loyalty, and love. Look with indifference, judgment, or distraction, and distance will grow. Every relationship in your life, whether personal, professional, or communal, is influenced by where your eyes rest, what they notice, and how intentionally you engage. The eyes are also windows to opportunity. So often chances are missed because people are blind to what is right in front of them. They are distracted, fearful, or unwilling to look beyond the obvious. The person who sees opportunity in every challenge, who notices what others ignore, who lingers on what is possible rather than what is impossible, is the person who transforms life into legacy. The eyes are the starting point of vision. They are the bridge from possibility to achievement, from thought to action, from dream to reality. Your eyes influence your destiny. The way you see the world shapes the life you live. Those who look at life with doubt, fear, or hesitation will find themselves trapped in limitation. Those who look with vision, determination, and courage will find themselves creating possibilities, inspiring others, and breaking barriers. The eyes are like a compass, pointing toward purpose, guiding choices, and igniting action. They are the lens through which your destiny becomes visible, tangible, and attainable. The eyes empower leadership. True leadership is not about titles, positions, or authority. It is about influence, vision, and the ability to inspire others. The leader who looks at their team with clarity, confidence, and expectation transmits courage, belief, and motivation. The eyes communicate standards, purpose, and direction in ways words cannot. Leadership begins when your eyes see what is possible, when your gaze meets the hearts of those you lead, and when your vision becomes contagious. The eyes are the silent instructors, the invisible motivators, and the hidden architects of influence and change. So as you reflect on everything we have shared, realize that the eyes are far more than sensory organs. They are instruments of perception, power, and destiny. They communicate before words are spoken, guide before plans are executed, and inspire before actions are taken. Every glance is an opportunity to see what others miss, to influence what others overlook, and to shape a future that reflects your highest potential. What you focus on, what you linger on, what you see and how you see it, these will determine the life you create, the legacy you leave, and the impact you have on the world. Remember the words of visionaries who understood this truth. What you focus on expands. Where attention goes, energy flows. And the eyes are the windows of the soul and the doors to destiny. Train your eyes to seek excellence, to find opportunity, to reflect integrity, and to empower others. Let your gaze be steady, purposeful, and filled with belief. Let your eyes communicate courage when fear surrounds, hope when despair looms, and vision when confusion clouds. The eyes have it, and when you understand their power, you will see, achieve, and inspire more than you ever imagined. Look carefully, focus intentionally, and let your eyes lead your life. They are not passive observers. They are architects of destiny, instruments of leadership, and windows to the life you are meant to live. The moment you open your eyes to possibility, to purpose, and to potential, everything begins to change, your perspective shifts, and the world begins to align with the vision reflected in your gaze.